As the global community keeps grappling with COVID-19 pandemic, Lagos, one of Africa's fastest growing cities, have continued to demonstrate commitment to slowing down and eventually halt the spread of the coronavirus in the state. Welcome to Inside Lagos. I'm Adedoja. Salam Adeniyi.
Ẹni tí ò dé kò yìn ẹkù kan. Àwa ni center of excellence. Ẹni ò dé kò yìn ẹkù kan. Àwa ni center of excellence. Mo ní pé bó o bá dé kò yìn ẹkù kan. Àwa ni center of excellence. Àwọn òyìnbó débẹ̀ wọ́n rí tá a jẹ́ ṣe. Àwa ni center of excellence. Haúsá débẹ̀ wọ́n rí tá a jẹ́ ṣe. Àwa ni center of excellence. Àwọn Ìgbò débẹ̀ wọ́n rí tá a jẹ́ ṣe. Àwa ni center of excellence. Gbogbo Yorùbá débẹ̀ wọ́n rí tí wọ́n mú lọ. Àwa ni center of excellence. Ẹni òde kò yìn ẹkù kan. Èkó ò ní bàjẹ́ lórí àwa. Àwa ni center of excellence. Ọ̀pọ̀ ò bá dé kò yìn ẹkù kan.
Lagos State has continued to hover between easing of the lockdown and total lockdown since the outbreak of the coronavirus in the state. The government says it can't afford to stop major activities in the state, which is one of West Africa's commercial nerve centers. The state government had opened a poll in one of microblogging sites with a probing question on the issue of lockdown after the governor announced the easing. 48.7% of residents voted for lockdown, while 40.9% voted no to lockdown. It's against this backdrop that Governor Sanwo-Olu came to brief the media on the new steps. The governor was rather considerate, and the first set of people were the elderly.
Part of the things that we want to immediately begin to implement is what we call relaxing the restriction on our elderly people. I want all our financial institutions and all of our markets, closed markets, especially the malls and stores, to be able to give preference to our elderly meaning 60 years and above. I want them to be able to open their banking halls and their stores to them from the hours of 9 o'clock in the morning to 10 or 10:30. Elderly people in our society must be given priority to enter the banking hall in the morning to be able to transact their businesses between the hours of 9 o'clock and 10:30, and also be able to enter a lot of these malls and a lot of these closed stores and open stores between the hours of 9 and 10:30. We will ensure that we'll keep to this time as priority for our elderly people in our society. And I think I want them to take advantage of this timing to be able to do their own personal shopping and transact their own personal businesses between this time before we'll allow other citizens to come in and also transact.
Then the businesses that employ many.
And also
The register to open, a method where the hospitality businesses, entertainment and religious would have to follow before they reopen for business in the next 3 weeks.
in the coming days ahead, we'll be starting what we call register to open. We'll be starting what we call register to open, meaning that all of the players in the restaurant business, spa business, event centers, entertainment, the malls and the cinemas will go through a form of re-registration and space management. We will be coming to their facility. There will be a regulation that will be coming out, but we'll be supervising and we're coming to their facility to see their level of readiness for a future opening. When that opening will happen in the weeks ahead, I don't know. But we want them to begin to tune themselves to the reality of COVID-19, what their floor spaces needs to look like. An example is in a restaurant that used to sit 10 people, maybe it's going to be only 5 or 6 people that will be there now. A restaurant that or an eatery that usually have plates and cutleries, maybe it's all going to be disposable plates and cutleries that will be allowed now going forward. These are some of the regulations or some of the changes that they need to get accustomed to. So that whole process, we're going to start it with them. either with the Lagos State Safety Commission, which will be strengthened in the coming days and weeks to be able to live up to this, and they will come up with a procedure on what they need to have. Because for them, it's not just to say that they should start tomorrow. There has to be a process before all of that can happen. Similarly, also at places of worship, as much as possible, we will be going and working with them to see their level of preparedness in the event that we're going to unlock them in future. How well have they spaced out their auditorium, their places of worship? How many people can it take at any point in time, ensuring that we keep as much space as possible before we begin to see them being ready for that unlocking. Our message is simple. Lagosians must not take the easing of the lockdown for granted. All of us need to take responsibility. There are reports of, like I said, some gym, some barbing salon, some barber shop that are opening secretly. Not until when you validate, or we come and validate what your space structure look like, and we're coming up with those regulations, you will be locked down. And we're saying this with all seriousness. We know that you need to get your business on, but we also need to ensure that you are doing it in an atmosphere where you keep both your clients and yourself safe. I must also say that in the 2 weeks that they've reviewed, they've seen some encouraging level of compliance around the open markets and the non-food market. But however, we believe that the compliance can also still be improved upon. And so we will still keep the days of opening for non-food markets to be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and for food markets to still open on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, and on Saturdays. And I'm hoping that people will take full advantage of this government gesture. We have not seen 80 or 90% compliance yet, but we're encouraged after the first 2 days that the level of compliance is increasing, and we hope that in the days going forward, we'll even see further improvement. I must also express that we're not very happy with the yellow buses at the level of compliance. Their union have assured us that they will continue to work on their members, and we've seen that commitment from them, but it's still a question of the followership, and we'll continue to work and encourage them that they impress on their followership. The security operatives are here. We do not want it to become an arrest issue. We want it to be a self-compliant issue, because when you self-comply, it's a whole lot easier on all of us. You know that the BRT and the high capacity buses, they are complying, and they are complying well. And I want to thank them for that level of compliance. But like I said, there's still a whole lot more room for improvement from all of this sector.
TVC News last week did a comprehensive expose on boundary towns and is not taking chances. Governor Sanwo-Olu said security will be beefed up at the boundaries linking the state with Ogun State.
I want to thank the collaborative efforts of our security operatives. I know that we have not seen the level of compliance that we would have wanted from the interstate journey travel. Like I did mention, our borders are only restricted, or we border only Ogun State. And so we're seeking this collaboration and this collaborative effort from the Ogun State government and the Nigerian police in Ogun State. We've seen it. We're just believing that we can work a lot better with it. And so the security operatives here have assured me that they will leave nothing unturned. We've seen issues where people that are meant to be bringing essential services in and out of Lagos are disobeying the rules of how many people they can take and in what time of the day they can travel. But they've assured us that even in the weeks ahead, they will see and ensure that we comply with these things, and their monitoring and enforcement will be improved.
Mr. Governor also disclosed that all the 10 staff of the government house who tested positive to COVID-19 had fully recovered and returned to their beats. As the coronavirus is at a community transmission level, the governor said testing capacity and capability will be increased at the primary health centers to curb spread.
We'll continue to see more positivity in the community, because we know that the virus is now in the community, and even with more testing and tracing, we will see the numbers go up. But the beauty of that is we're always encouraged with the number of patients that also get well from our facility and return to be well, haven't spent the isolation period. So we will wrap up testing, both working with the NCDC and ourselves. We've complained over the period that we've seen a global shortage of the reagent, but we have wrapped up the supply, we have wrapped up contacts and ensuring that we can access this very critical component of our testing, and we will be seeing increased number of testing as we go into the weeks ahead. During the week, we're able to also treat a patient that was COVID positive through a cesarean birth. We're able to bring out a baby alive, and this is the third in a series of patients that have been COVID positive, but they've been pregnant, and they've been very successful operations taking place at each and every one of them. We also, over this period, continue to increase our capacity and our capability at our various, not only isolation center, but now we're pushing the capacity and the capability to our primary health institutions. Because we're aware that the virus is community-based now, it's important for us to be able to cascade down how we track and how we monitor it.
If you, for example, the virus has the opportunity to spread to 2 or 3 people, but you actually practice social distancing properly, then the virus for that day may only have the chance to infect 1 person. That is how social distancing works. So you reduce the capacity of the virus to do what it normally wants to do, which is to infect between 2 and 3 people a day. So as we tell you and give you the guidelines for social distancing, you're actually interfering with the model. So the model may predict that you will get 120,000 in 3 months. But if you obey what the government is saying and you practice good social distancing, that number may actually come down to half or even less.
Lagos State government is now intensifying efforts to curb the community transmission of the coronavirus in the state with its mobile advocacy campaign across the 20 local government areas and the 37 local council development areas. Have a listen.
The Lagos State government has intensified its campaign against the coronavirus pandemic since the state recorded its index case on 27th of February. The state has continued with the advocacy and public awareness on the virus through its integrated communication strategy of continuous briefing as well as radio and television messages to reach all strata of the society.
Lagosians should, in the interest of all of us, ensure regular observance of all preventive measures being widely circulated by both the state and the federal ministries of health. These measures are the following. Residents should observe high standards of personal hygiene and practice social distancing. If you feel sick, consult a doctor and stay indoors. Everyone should be vigilant and report suspected cases of the disease to the nearest medical facility. The telephone number provided by our Ministry of Health is 08000 Corona, which is 08000 Corona, or 08000 267 662. And I'm sure this number is available round the clock.
Regarding face mask, we've also seen a bit of encouraging, but a lot of people still in the public places are not complying. The federal government of Nigeria has insisted that face mask is now compulsory not only in Lagos but right around the Federation. Anytime you're in a public place, please ensure that you're wearing a face mask. it is not only to protect yourself, it's also to protect you from others. And so please, like I did mention at the last address, people need to take responsibility. We need to take full responsibility for ourselves and for our loved ones. And we cannot stop at ensuring that people do this at all times. As a government, we have distributed over 1 million masks already. We have over 1,000 people that will be going out, and they'll be going to all the local governments, and they'll be giving out free face masks as well, just to ensure that we see higher level of compliance from our citizens. So we will also be distributing free face masks to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and you watch them, they'll be out there trying to give out to people that do not have. And I'm hoping that people will see this gesture of government as a positive note for collaboration. It's only when you are in a public engagement. If you're in your house, if you're in your office, or if you're in your own personal space, you need not have one on. If you're in your own personal space that is controlled, you need not have one in your house or even in your car. If you're in your car and you're the only one driving, you need not have one, right? It's only when you think that you could be an endanger to somebody that is with you, or somebody can actually be endanger you. That's really when you need to scale up, wearing a face mask. But if you're in your space, you don't have to.
Anyone found in the public without a face mask will be prosecuted. Please wear your mask always. Ibeka Ikuneko Ajumoshele. This message is from the Lagos State government.
This time, it's enforcing efforts to curb community spread of COVID-19 as it flags off an extensive public enlightenment campaign across all the 20 local government areas and 37 local council development area in the state. It has become imperative to penetrate communities with retails that will attract the attention of residents to engender compliance with directive of health experts on COVID-19. The enhanced public enlightenment campaign, which involves LED and mobile billboards, is expected to strengthen the advocacy on physical distancing, information about the symptoms, as well as prevention and sample collection centers for individuals who exhibit symptoms.
People need to be educated, they need to be enlightened about so many things. Concerning this virus, to the whole world it is strange. And here, it is also strange, even stranger, as I can say, because it got to so many other parts of the world before coming down here. And our people need to be told what to do at this time, because it's like in a war situation. The leadership has to be up and doing and has to be talking about these things so that everybody can follow and see what exactly should be done in this difficult time. All the regulations that we have issued out, washing your hands, social distancing, wearing a face mask. If you cannot, if you must go out, if you can do without going out, just stay indoors. No gathering of any kind at this time. No parties. It's not encouraged at all. This is a war situation. And people feel that not many people have television. Not many people can afford radio sets. Not many people can afford to buy newspapers and read at this time. So we said, okay, let's take the message to them, to their doorsteps. That is why we have the vehicles going around and showing people of Lagos what to do at this particular time.
The campaign is to further increase awareness so that the residents of Lagos are further equipped to combat the virus, especially at this critical stage of community transmission.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has handed over to the Lagos State government a property forfeited by a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Desiani Alinsin Madueke, to the federal government for use as an isolation center for COVID-19 patients.
The governor and his team arrived early for the handover ceremony. Handing over the building, the zonal head EFCC Lagos, Mohammed Rabo, said it is part of organization's social responsibility towards the fight against the spread of coronavirus.
Today, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will be handing over the property at 135 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, to Lagos State Government for use as an isolation center for the COVID-19 patients. The property is a 3-bedroom of 6-flat apartment with a 6-room boys' quarters owned by a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diazani Alese Madueke, before it was forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria, following a Lagos High Court order in 2017. This gesture is part of the Commission's effort in discharging its own social responsibility towards the fight against the spread of coronavirus. The Commission is always committed and ready, alongside its mandate in fighting economic and financial crimes, to also render any essential service that may be required of it in the fight against COVID-19.
The governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, described it as a welcome collaboration between the federal government and the state government. He added that his team will go round the facility to see if there are areas that needs to be improved upon.
So what you're doing for us in Lagos, it's very reassuring that you are observant of what is going on, and in your own wisdom, you have felt, how can you participate? What are the things that we can do? And part of the things that we've been having challenges with is isolation centers, right? And so this property that you have handed over to us, we will very quickly go around and see what level of improvement we need to put, because an isolation center is also like is a security zone, right? So all of the security apparatus has to be there, and it has to be conducive, because all our isolation centers, people come there, people get sick, they come in there and they get well and they go home.
The property, located at number 135 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, is 6 flats of 3 bedrooms and a boys' quarter. It was forfeited to the federal government following an order of a federal high court in Lagos in 2017.
That's the package on today's edition of Inside Lagos. Many thanks for being a part of it. Remember, most people with COVID-19 may not show any sign, but can still spread the virus. Protect yourself. Stay 2 meters away from the next person, and always use your face mask. See you next time. I'm Adedoja. Salam Adeni.